In my life, I've learned to do a lot of things. I've learned to create music, to express myself with a tune, to compose beautiful artwork, and share it with the world. But one of the most important things, one of the most defining things of who I am and my life, is sharing the gospel, preaching the good word, and working for the community, the body of Christ, as a minister. I think it's important to share with you guys why I find it important to be a minister, why I dedicate my life to these goals and aspirations of ministry for the community and for the world. I want you guys to understand that part of me so that when I'm sharing my messages, my videos, my writings with you, that it means just a little bit more. It helps you internalize it just a little bit more. And hopefully that will benefit you. One of my biggest influences is my family, and we really like to get together as often as possible for like birthdays and celebrations. And when we do, we like to discuss how we can not only better ourselves, but better ourselves for community and the Christian church as a whole. It's weird when it's upside down. It spoils your book by writing it upside down.
Hard to read.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially for a dyslexic. Questions are the best way to find out information about something, and as a minister, there are some questions that repeat. Here are the top 5 questions I most often get asked. Why did I want to become a minister? That's a good question. I guess the simplest answer would just say that I was following in the footsteps of my father. He was also a minister, but um, I would say that actually I resisted becoming a minister more than anything. I originally in high school wanted to be a police officer, and then I got into carpentry in high school, and I loved that. But then that wasn't creative enough, so I went into art and started my own business, and that wasn't fulfilling enough. And I did university, and I worked retail jobs all the way through that, and you know, all of it. It just wasn't right. That's not what was calling me. Ministry was calling me. But being a minister is a lot more than just picking a career. It's something you realize about yourself. It's something that you have to fulfill. It's kind of like my art and my music. That is more than just a skill or a talent. It's a part of who I am. And it's a part of my living, like breathing and eating and drinking. You just need those things to survive, and that's the same thing with ministry. I need to preach and share the gospel and help people to survive. It's a part of who I am. It's a part of what I need to do to live and to be. One of the things that really changed my life and redirected me from any other job or career to ministry was something that happened to me when I was actually going through a really hard time in my life. I was feeling quite depressed and angry and frustrated with God, and at points I was even questioning if God existed. And I remember being on a bus, and there was a elderly lady up at the front of the bus, and I could tell she was sick and she was having some trouble. And I remember being very angry, thinking, God, why would you do this to this elderly woman? What did she do to deserve this? And then this group of teenagers got on the bus, and they were all punked out. They had piercings everywhere and mohawks and tattoos, and I was just thinking, oh man, like look at these delinquents. And I was thinking the worst of them, and thinking, oh, if God was there, He wouldn't let them be in the kind of trouble they are. And I kind of assumed that they were doing drugs or doing whatever god awful thing um, to themselves and to other people. And then I really had a light bulb moment, and more than just a light bulb turning on, it was more like being smacked across the face with a light bulb. And the woman up at the front started having what I could only assume to be an Alzheimer's attack. She didn't know where she was. She was very confused, and she was trying to get the bus driver's attention, and he was having a hard time with it because he was in busy traffic and uh, all this stuff, and it was getting really chaotic. And I remember at that point just being really angry with God, and being like, how could you do this? Why would you do this to this woman? This is terrible. You're terrible. And all of a sudden, one of the girls that were in the group of teenagers that got on the bus got up, and now this girl had, like I said, a mohawk, piercings, what at the time I thought was like gothic or kind of gangster, and I don't know, kind of clothing on. And she walked up from the back of the bus and started helping the old lady. And she got the attention of the bus driver and asked him to stop the bus. And she asked the old lady if she recognized anything around her. And the old lady pointed to something, and the two of them got off the bus together. And I kind of had this whoa moment when I realized that there was more to that situation than I ever thought possible. I thought it was just something terrible, but in fact, the things that were terrible gave way to something that was absolutely beautiful. This girl that I completely misjudged as a delinquent, a bad person, showed me up in a way I couldn't ever believe. I didn't stop to think of how I could help that woman. All I did was get angry. And somehow this young lady was able to, in public, find the courage to step out of the crowd and help someone in need. And then I started thinking, how did she know what to do? And then I thought that, well, maybe she had a grandmother, an aunt, or a mother, someone in her family who had suffered from Alzheimer's as well. And she recognized what was going on and said, you know what, I can help them. And then I thought, well, that kind of makes what happened to her in her life, if that was the case, a good thing. And I started thinking about, after this point, all the bad things in my life that I was upset about and angry with God about, and started making all these connections about the good things that actually have come out of them. And then I realized my greatest lesson, which was that, you know, goodness will triumph. Even in the darkest moments, there is hope, there is light, there's a way out. And sometimes that's from an outside source, sometimes that's from you, sometimes that's from the community. But if there is hope, if there's love, then there is a way to get past these dark and painful moments. And from that moment, I was really transformed. Um, I realized all the roads, all the broken roads, were leading me to something better and something greater, and that for me is ministry. And since then, I've had more struggles and more things and bumps in the road, but I've still come out of that and found hope. And anytime I feel like I'm getting down, I remember that girl on the bus getting up and helping that old lady, and it's really made a difference in my life. So, what are my goals in ministry? Well, if you follow my blogs and my videos or write ups or whatever, you'll know that goal setting is, I find, a very valuable skill. And in goal setting, you kind of got two main parts: is the goals you're working on currently, and where those goals are going to take you. So the future goals. And so currently, right now, I'm really just trying to focus on education and learning as much skills and practical tools that I can use to be the best minister as possible. Um, and from that point, then I guess my goals become a little bit more broad in general, because I often get asked the question, what kind of ministry do you want to get into? Do you want to be a church minister? Do you want to, be a chaplain for the hospital or the military? Or do you want to just do mission work and go to other countries and help the poor? And I think about it all, and I'm like, well, it all sounds great. And it's hard to choose. And a lot of ministers, when they're entering into that career, start, middle aged, and I'm a lot younger than a lot of other people in this field, so I do have the option to think about it a little bit more. So at this point, I mostly am just focused on uh, utilizing my opportunities and getting the most out of them as possible, and in that way, when I do choose a final destination point for a career, that I am the most skilled that I can be. And ultimately, I think my goal is to just work with people. Oh, another question I get asked a lot is, can ministers have fun? Um, And of course they can. And I often get this question asked by, young adults and teenagers who are starting to get out into that whole party scene, the bar scene, the pub scene, and um, they see someone who's my age, and they're like, "Well, how can you want to give up your youth, your young adult life to get into ministry?" And I often say to them, like, just because you're a minister doesn't mean you can't have a good time, you can't socialize, you can't have a good time, but you have to be very, very conscious about the world around you. And one of my favorite experiences that I like to engage with is um, I'll go out with a friend to a pub or a restaurant, and I'll be having a beer with them, and we'll be chit chatting. And sometimes I just like to go talk to young people. If I know, see if there's a birthday or a celebration, I'll be like, go up to them and be like, well, what's going on here? And I introduce myself, and somehow the conversation will come up as, oh, I work in ministry. And they're often quite shocked of like, how can you be out here? Is this safe? Are you going to catch on fire? Is God going to strike you down? And within those conversations, there's usually a transforming experience for them. Um, because I would say 9 out of 10 times, uh, they will become so comfortable with the fact that who I am as a person and the fact that I'm a minister that they'll often ask for prayer, for struggles that are going on in their lives that they wouldn't have normally seeked out religious counsel for. And I think that kind of breaks down some boundaries, some misconceptions about ministry and ministers that, we're people too. We're not these, distant, holy people up on a pedestal that need to be feared because they're going to judge you. No, we're people that need to go down with the community. Like Jesus went out and he sat down with the lepers. He sat down with uh, the prostitutes. He talked with people that the holy people didn't want you to associate with you. The religious people didn't want you to be around. And so I think to be an effective minister, you have to go to all areas of life, and that means you got to be willing to cut loose, have some fun, go sing some karaoke, go dancing if you want to, have a beer with some friends, or just cut it loose. And it's in those moments when people get comfortable with you and relax, and they realize, oh, it's okay if I talk to you, and it can be a wonderful experience to just stop, have a moment of prayer, and continue on with your night. And I've had a lot of people say, you know, this is awesome. I would love to go to your church. You don't make me scared of God. You don't make me scared of ministers. You don't make me scared of church. And I think that is a great thing for me to encourage other ministers to do, is to get out into their communities. Don't be afraid to wear the collar and show that you exist and you're not something to be afraid of. That you're a positive thing in the world, and that you care for the people in the community, and every community, and every person. So, what do I feel is the most important lesson for me to teach? Well, I think that's very simple. Love. Christ shares with us the two greatest commandments, which is to love God above all other things and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I think those are strong staples to live by. Like, um, those two in combined can lead you um, to a great path. And I think that's why I try to do the videos as kind of, instructionals on a good advice on how to live your life. Because if you can love God and love your neighbor, then you really learn to love yourself. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles that people have is um, to have those three things: the love of God, love of neighbor, love yourself, in a nice balance. We often, I've known church people who just focus so much on God and how God's great and their relationship with God, but they reject the world around them. They don't seek out, to help the poor and the homeless and animals and nature. They just get so withdrawn into their relationship with God, and other people get really caught up in the whole what their neighbor thinks and wants and needs, and their whole life becomes about the social aspect, and they get very confused and lost, and it can be dangerous. And or people get really obsessed with themselves or really withdrawn into themselves, so they can either retreat from the world, or they become so concerned about what the world thinks of who they are, that they really get caught up in the glamour and into how they look, or um, how much money they have. So I think when you have the balance between the love of God, neighbor, and yourself, then you can really prosper. So I think that it's important to really emphasize love, the power of that love can do, and what it can do for you, and what it can do for others. And if in that process of trying to share and teach people that they find a little bit of hope and faith, that's perfect. That's I can't get any happier than that. I couldn't wish for anything more than that. And so I think that's the most important thing to share is faith, hope, and love, and the most important of those is love. So if I could tell the world one thing, I would say that it is very true that God loves you, and I would also add to that I love you as well. It's an unconditional love. It's based on the sheer fact that you're alive, that you can think, feel, and act, and that you're a person. You're a child of God, so you deserve that love. So the fact is that it doesn't matter what you look like, who you are, where you came from, what language you speak, what color your skin is. God is there for you. That unconditional love is yours for the taking, for yours to accept. And when you do that, you you open yourself to a world of possibilities. And even in the darkest moments and those harsh times in life, as long as you know that God's there and He loves you, and I'll say I love you too, so that you know you got two people in the world who love you unconditionally for who you are. I think that's a pretty powerful thing, and I guarantee there's more people than just me out there who feel the same way. You have a whole army of people in the world who care for you unconditionally, no matter who you are, what your background is, or even what your religion or faith is. So that's all I really have to say about why I want to be a minister and kind of my motivations around it behind it. I really hope this is making a difference in how you understand what I'm doing and how you understand even your own faith and your own ministry in life. Everybody, in one way, as a minister in the world, we all minister to each other and try to help each other and take care of each other. So even though I'm doing it in a more professional role, I hope this helps you in your journey in life as someone who recognizes the fact that they are a child of God, that they have a purpose and a duty to make a difference in the world. And even though it can be challenging at times, that you never give up, you never surrender, and it's never futile to love the world around you, to love God, and to love yourself, and to balance yourself between those three, so that you can truly make a difference and have a good and happy life, and at the same time help those who are not having such a good life. Um, One of the biggest things I've learned in my time trying to get into ministry is that there's always work that needs to be done. There's always another battle, another task, another challenge to meet and face. There's always going to be people out there who need your help, who need support, who need caring, who need God in their lives. And it's your duty, it's my duty, it's everybody's duty to do what they can to make that a reality. And we may not always agree on the path ahead on one thing or another, but the what we need to be, united is on is that we got to take care of the world. We got to take care of each other, and we got to share in the joy, the mystery, and the powerful presence that is God in our lives. So I say to all of you, take care, God bless, and good luck into the journey ahead.